Madhava Kunja Vihare Jayo Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhare Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihare Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhare Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Gauranithai, Gauranithai, Gauranithai. Nitai Gaura Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo. Nitai Go, Nitai Go. Jaya Radha Madhava, Radha Madhava Shri Radhe. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jai Jai Prabhupada, 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 Jai Jai Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Prabhupada. Jaya Gurudeva, 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 Jaya Gurudeva. Jai Jai Gurudev, 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 Jai Jai Gurudev, 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 Jai Jai Gurudev. Jaya Om Vishnupad Paramhamsa Pravajagacharya Astota Shrimad Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai. ISKCON Founder Acharya, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Shikar Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Radhakun Shamakun Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Shri Navdev Dham Ki Jai. Shri Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Ki Jai, Yamuna Mai Ki Jai, Tulasi Devi Ki Jai, Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Hari Nam Sankirtan Ki Jai, Sankirtan Yagya Ki Jai, Brahat Mridanga Ki Jai, Gaura Pramanande, Hari Hari Bo. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Om Jnana Timirantasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chaksuramilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manopistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadam Tikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagarjatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadritam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Rata Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Rate Vrindavaneshware Vishabhanu Sute Deve Pranamami Hare Priye. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyeva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavibhyo namo namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Mukham karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim yat kripatamaham bande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Harihi Om Tat Sat Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. First of all, I would like to welcome everyone to today's ecstatic Srimad Bhagavatam class. Haribo. Today we are going to read Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 3, Chapter 16, entitled Jaya and Vijaya Cursed by the Sages, Shloka number 18. Please read after me. Tattva sanātano dharmo rakṣyate tanubhis tava dharmasya paramo guhyo nirvikāro mataḥ tvattaḥ sanātano dharmo rakṣyate tanubhis tava dharmasya paramo guhyo nirvikāro mataḥ tvattaḥ sanātano dharmo rakṣyate tanubhis tava dharmasya paramo guhyo nirvikāro mataḥ. Tvattaḥ sanātano dharmo rakṣyate tanubhis tava dharmasya paramo guhyo nirvikāro mataḥ. Tvattaḥ sanātano dharmo rakṣyate tanubhis tava dharmasya paramo guhyo nirvikāro mataḥ. Vaishnavis. Tvattaḥ sanātano dharmo rakṣyate tanubhis tava dharmasya paramo guhyo nirvikāro mataḥ. Tvattaḥ sanātano dharmo rakṣyate tanubhis tava dharmasya paramo guhyo nirvikāro mataḥ. Word for word. Tvattaḥ, from you. Sanātanaḥ, eternal. Dharmaḥ, occupation. Rakṣyate, is protected. Tanubhiḥ, by multi-manifestations. Tava, your. Dharmasya, of religious principles. Paramaḥ, the supreme. Guhyaḥ, objective. nirvikāraḥ, unchangeable, bhavān, you, mataḥ, in our opinion. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. You are the source of the eternal occupation of all living entities, and by your multi-manifestations of personalities of Godhead, you have always protected religion. You are the supreme objective of religious principles, and in our opinion, you are inexhaustible and unchangeable eternally. Purport. The statement in this verse, dharmasya paramo guhyaḥ, refers to the most confidential part of all religious principles. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. The conclusion of Lord Krishna in his advice to Arjuna is, give up all other religious engagement and just surrender unto me. This is the most confidential knowledge in executing religious principles. In the Bhagwatam also it is stated that if one does not become Krishna conscious after very rigidly executing one's specified religious duties, all his labor in following so-called religious principles is simply a waste of time. Here also the sages confirm the statement that the Supreme Lord, not the demigods, is the ultimate goal of all religious principles. There are many foolish propagandists who say that worship of the demigods is also a way to reach the supreme goal. But in the authorized statements of Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, this is not accepted. Bhagavad Gita says that one who worships a particular demigod can reach the demigod's planet, but one who worships the Supreme Personality of Godhead can enter into Vaikuntha. Some propagandists say that regardless of what one does, he will ultimately reach the supreme abode of the Personality of Godhead. But this is not valid. The Lord is eternal. The Lord's servitor is eternal, and the Lord's abode is also eternal. They are all described here as sanātana, or eternal. The result of devotional service, therefore, is not temporary, as is the achievement of heavenly planets by worshipping the demigods. The sages wanted to stress that although the Lord, out of his causeless mercy, says that he worships the Brahmanas and Vaishnavas, actually the Lord is worshipable not only by the Brahmanas and Vaishnavas, but also by the demigods. Hare Krishna. I believe all of you will know how important is the Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam Puranam Mamalam Yad Vaishnavanam Priyam Yasmin Paramahamsam Mekam Mamalam Gyanam Param Giyate Tatra Gyana Virag Bhakti Sahitam Naishkarmyam Avishkritam Tatshrimvan Supadam Vicharana Paro Bhaktya Vimuchinaraha. Why this is Vaishnava Priyam? Because it gives us the knowledge of the Paramahamsas, and it directly provides us a method how to become free from the material fruitive activities, and at the same time give us knowledge, renunciation, and bhakti. So if one very sincerely hears and studies Srimad Bhagavatam and chants Srimad Bhagavatam, he is sure to get liberation. So today I would like to focus on the knowledge aspect. When we are reading, even from the first line, it says that you are the source of the eternal occupation of all living entities. It reminds me of the Chatuslokik Gita, 10.8 up to 11. In that part, it is mentioned that aham sarvasya prabhavo mata sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajamte mam buddha bhava samanvitaha. So at the beginning, Krishna, not beginning, I'm sorry, it's in the middle of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Krishna is telling Arjuna that I am the source of everything. And both the material world and the spiritual world, they emanate from me. And then the wise who know this knowledge, they would engage in my devotional service. And then Krishna says what they manifest, what kind of symptoms they manifest. So it is said that machita madgata prana bodhayanta parasparam. They among themselves, bodhayanta parasparam, they are preaching among themselves. And katayantastamam nityam tushanticha ramanticha. They are constantly talking about Krishna katha. Usually we say that Krishna is the pran of the devotees, but Krishna katha is like the nutrients, the nutritious elements for the devotees. We must take this to nourish our spiritual life. And then Krishna mentioned his reciprocation with the devotees. So he said, Evam satata yogtanam bhajatam priti purvakam tadami bhuti yogam tam yenamam payantite. By my mercy you can come to me. And then he said, Evam evanukam partam aham agyana jantamam nashayami atma bhavasto gyana dipena basvata. Krishna said, I am situated inside their bhava. I am situated inside their intelligence. And I am as a shining lamp of knowledge. Nashayami. I am going to dispel all their ignorance. So why Krishna wants to establish the knowledge about him as a Supreme Personality of Godhead? We can understand in Bhagavad Gita, it is mentioned different degrees of knowledge. So first we have confidential knowledge, the difference between matter and spirit. It's starting from chapter 2. And then we understand Krishna is telling Arjuna more confidential knowledge, starting from chapter 7 up to chapter 8. So it's talking about how the Supreme Lord, he has multifarious energies, and how his energies is functioning, both in the material world and the spiritual world. And then in the ninth chapter, the title is Most Confidential Knowledge. Most confidential knowledge. This is the topmost knowledge. Raja Vedi Raja Guhyam Pavitram Idam Uttamam Prati Yakshama Karman Dharmyam Susukam Kartum Avyayam. So this is the king of knowledge. And then in the 10th chapter, at the beginning, Krishna is telling Arjuna that I have something more confidential to tell you. Why? Already Krishna said in the 9th chapter, this is the most confidential knowledge, but there's still something more confidential, more secret than whatever I have told you. That is about his vibhutis, his opulence. And Prabhupada mentioned why Arjuna is asking Krishna, please tell me in detail about the manifestation of your vibhutis, because Krishna has a lot of opulences, and the vibhuti refers to special opulence, that through this kind of opulence, Krishna is controlling all the universes. And then in the 10:16, Arjuna is asking Krishna, please tell me everything, especially your all-pervading aspect. And then in the 10:17, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada is emphasizing to us, he said, because Arjuna, by his good fortune, he already had enough experience, he already has enough understanding about Krishna, his best friend. But Arjuna is asking for the common people. What kind of people are considered as common people? The materialists and the impersonalists. They cannot see spiritual things. They can only see the material things. So Arjuna is asking Krishna to tell that what is all the details in your opulences that is all pervasive, because through this phenomenon description, it opens a door of understanding for common people, including the materialists and also the impersonalists, because they cannot think Krishna spiritually. They can only think Krishna materially. That's why Arjuna is asking, and he said, Teshu, Teshu cha bhaveshu. Teshu means in which aspect, means in what kind of detailed way you can tell us. Bhaveshu means physical things. So these people, by Krishna's mercy, they can cultivate one kind of appreciation. And when they cultivate their appreciation for the Lord, then this would help them to surrender to the Lord. So that's why in Lagu Bhagavatam, Srila Rupa Goswami, he said there are two kinds of pastimes of the Lord. One is about the creation, and another one is the very intimate, very sweet relationships, pastimes that Krishna enacted with his most intimate associates. But for the neophyte devotees, Rupa Goswami said, we should first learn about the pastimes of creation. If we directly jump into those most intimate pastimes, we don't understand, and maybe we are going to misunderstand them as mundane dealings. So that's why now we are in the third canto, and we also notice that in this canto, a lot of things discussed about creation and what is the role of the Kumaras. In the Lagu Bhagavatamrita, Rupa Goswami mentioned about the list of different lila avatars of the Lord. The first one is the four sanas, because their names all contain the syllable sanas. Of course, in Bhagavatam they are called as the four Kumaras. And in that part, Srila Rupa Goswami revealed that the Lord incarnates as the four sanas, has a special role to play. That is to preach the pure knowledge and devotional service to people. And also, by playing the role of four sanas, the four Kumaras, the Lord wants to mastermind the phase of creation of the whole universe called Kaumara. This is very interesting here. Kaumara is a phase of creation, and it refers to the beginning, the blooming, the budding, the growth of the universe. So we first have to establish this knowledge of opulence. Then we start to appreciate. The more we appreciate the Lord, the more faith we have. Of course, the best way for us to learn the knowledge is among the association of the devotees of the Lord. At the end of the purport, in the last shloka of chapter 8, Srila Prabhupada mentioned, he said, if one is fortunate enough and he can study these middle chapters about the bhakti and of Bhagavad Gita, and then he immediately becomes glorious, then he can transcend all the results we can get from Vedeshu, Yagyashu, Dhanashu, and Tapashu. That means no matter how much you can get from studying the Vedas, no matter how much you can get from performing tapasya, austerities, penance, and no matter how much charities you are giving out, it doesn't matter. Everything you can get, and you can get much more by studying Bhagavad Gita. And I would like to share amazing statements of Srila Prabhupada coming from the Bhagavad Gita chapter 10, verse 11. This is the last one of Chatusloka Gita. And Prabhupada revealed the essence of the teachings of Bhagavad Gita in this special purport, 10.11. What is the essence of the teachings of the whole Bhagavad Gita? That is, for the devotees, they no need to worry about material necessities, because by their loving devotional service, and the darkness from their heart is dispelled, and they no need to become anxious, because Krishna would automatically provide everything they need. So, just like Krishna mentions before in the 9th chapter, 9:22, Ananyas Chintayantomam. If you engage in this unalloyed devotional service, then what I do, yoga kshemam mahamyaham. Interestingly, the yoga in that 9:22 is, word for word, is translated into protection. Usually we understand it as connection, but here it means protection. That means once you are connected with Krishna, then you are fully protected. So Krishna said, no need to worry. I would provide everything, whatever you need, all necessities of your life, both materially and spiritually. And then Srila Prabhupada said something even more amazing. He said, you can become a completely surrendered soul, that you can become completely surrendered to Krishna simply by studying Bhagavad Gita. And then you can engage in pure devotional service. Then Krishna in your heart, he would get rid of all contamination from your heart. And as we know that Srila Prabhupada, he dedicated his Bhagavad Gita as it is, all his translations and commentaries, to Srila Baladevi Dasi. And Srila Baladevi Dasi, it revealed something very interesting in the 10.11 purport. He commented, he said, Krishna is actually telling his devotees, no need to endeavor. And he emphasized, no, not at all. You do not need to endeavor. I don't know if you are familiar with one's secular words. Nowadays, people say, oh, I don't want to do anything. I just want to lie flat. I just want to lie flat, not doing anything, enjoy and relax. And what Krishna says here, Krishna, through the commentary of Baladevi Dasi, he says, no, not at all. No need to endeavor for anything. I am situated inside your heart. I would provide everything you need. And then I will give you special knowledge. And this knowledge is so special. It even surpassed the normal transcendental knowledge you can get by performing devotional service. Isn't that amazing? You can get knowledge of transcendental knowledge about devotional service. But if you know what is spirit, what is matter, and that is considered as ordinary. But Krishna said there's something more confidential things he's going to explain. He's going to reveal. And if we don't know that knowledge, we will suffer. For example, a very nice example coming from Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur's Chaitanya Bhagavat in the Antya Leela is talking about Lord Nityananda's glories. Because here it is mentioned about Krishna is, by his multi-manifestations of personality of Godhead, you have always protected religion. Multifarious, multi-manifestations, including all his incarnations, all his expansions. As we know that Balarama is a direct expansion of Lord Krishna. And Lord Nityananda has no difference with him. So Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur mentioned that some people, that they are thinking Lord Nityananda is an ordinary person. And then Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur comments, they fall down. What kind of process they fall down? Very systematically. First, if they think Lord Nityananda is an ordinary living entity, and before they already reached the stage of performing loving devotional service to the lotus feet of Lord Gopinath, they fell from that stage. And when they fell from the lotus feet of Lord Gopinath, it's not only they're leaving their service to Lord Gopinath, but they are also leaving the service to Lord Narayan's form, the four-armed Lord Narayan's form, Alarnath. And then they start to worship Panchapasakas. They start to worship Lord Jagannath in Panchapasakas. Srila Prabhupada mentioned in the 6th canto, Srimad Bhagavatam, that usually the Mayavadis, they imagine 5 kinds of forms, and they start to worship. And they would imagine some kind of form of Lord Vishnu, they imagine some kind of form of Lord Shiva, and they imagine some kind of form of Surya, the sun god, and they imagine some kind of form about Durga, etc. So a person, if he's offending, he's thinking, oh, the Lord, his incarnations, expansions, is like an ordinary person, and then they fell. Then they fell from that lotus feet of the Lord, and they start to serve the imagined form of the Lord. And when they are serving the imagined form of the Lord, actually, they started this process of degradation. They would become more and more fallen, and they become more and more degraded in committing offenses. So when they're worshipping this imagined form of Lord Jagannath, the Lord of the universe. And they start to cultivate one kind of desire that they want to worship the demigod, Bhuvaneshwar. Although Bhuvaneshwar, we know he is Lord Shiva, but because they already started their offense, so actually they are traversing into the hell. And when they are even starting to worship Bhuvaneshwar, they also start to commit offenses. And so they also fell from the worship Lord Shiva, because we know in Bhagavatam it is mentioned Vaishnava nam yatha Shambhu. He is the best of the Vaishnavas, the greatest devotee. So by offending Lord Shiva, they again fell from that stage. And what stage they will come to? They would come to the stage of cultivating pious activities. And when they further commit more offenses, they even fell from that platform. They even cannot stay on the platform of performing all kinds of pious activities. They would have one kind of desire. This kind of dangerous desire would arise from their heart. They start to have the desire of taking bath in the river of Vaitarani, and they want to perform fruitive activities. They want to stay in Yajapur. That means they start to think about, engage in some most abominable activities. And then they would becoming more sinful, and they start to engage in sinful activities. Up to this point, there is no hope for their cultivation of spiritual life. What would happen to them? They would become averse to the beauty of Lord Jagannath. They become averse to the beauty of Lord Gopinath. They completely fell down. And they are thinking, by the strength of their mundane knowledge, they don't need the help of Lord Nityananda. So there's no auspiciousness in their life. And they just rushing into the hell. So from this we understand the knowledge, the cognizance, how important it is. And in the Padma Purana, it is mentioned that the Lord has many, many incarnations. And among all his incarnations, and including himself, there are three forms most dear to the Lord. That is Lord Krishna himself, the Swayam Bhagavan. And there is Lord Ramachandra, and there's Lord Nrsimhadev. The Lord, he himself, most like these three forms. These three forms are called para-avastas. So these para-avastas, they have this special opulence. The para-avasta mean they're the best. They're the most complete, the most perfect form of the Lord. But there is slight degradation from Lord Nrsimhadev to Lord Ramachandra and then to Lord Krishna, becomes more and more complete. And so this is mentioned in the Padma Purana Uttarakanda about the concept of this para-avasta. And then in the Vishnu Purana, in the fourth part, Maitreya Muni is asking one question. He's asking that the living entities like Hiranyakasipu and Ravana, they're killed by Lord Nrsimhadev, by Lord Ramachandra. They're killed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Why they didn't get liberation? Why there's another demon called Shishupal, and when he was killed by Lord Krishna, he got liberation. So Sri Parashara Muni, he explained the reason why. And we know that here Kashipu, he's the king of the demons. And when he's ruling the whole universe, he's thinking he's the best. So he is in a lot of mode of passion. And due to that mode of passion, he cannot think, he cannot perceive things in the proper way. So he is thinking, Nrsimhadev, this half lion, half man, this living entity is just like him. This is like an individual soul. And by some kind of severe austerity, he achieved such power and opulence. So his cognizance, he didn't recognize the Lord's position as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's why he was killed. He was killed by the Lord, but he didn't get liberation. He get unparalleled opulence and power and strength. Even the demigods, they cannot compare to him. And the detail mentioned by Parashara Muni is that when Lord incarnates as Lord Nrsimhadev, he didn't insinuate his very special features. These special features actually are liberating features inside the heart of the living entity who encounter him. Because we know when Prahlada Maharaj is praying to Lord Nrsimhadev, he said, those conditioned souls, they are identified themselves with this material body. They are neglected or not cared for by you, cannot do anything for their real goodness. So Lord Nrsimhadev, he simply doesn't exert his liberating influence on these conditioned fallen souls who encounter him. So usually only when Krishna, he kills someone and he has that liberating ability, because he insinuates his liberating features like his personality, his holy names, his sweetness, his pastimes, these special charms inside the heart of that specific living entity. He would inspire the living entity become completely absorbed in him. Then that living entity becomes liberated. But for Hiranyakashipu, he's less fortunate. So although he was killed by Lord Nrsimhadev, the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself, he didn't get liberation. Then in his next life, he becomes Ravana. Again, he didn't really recognize the position of Lord Ramachandra. Still, he's thinking, oh, this is an ordinary person, just like me. And even one time, his beloved wife, Mandodari, is reminding him, actually, you should not do like this. Why you are taking away Lord Ramachandra's wife? At that time, he said, theoretically, I know about the glories of Lord Rama. He knows theoretically, but he didn't internalize that knowledge. Still, he cannot understand. But even by this cloudy vision of the Lord, he was killed, and he again got enormous opulence, enormous power, and he's taking birth in the most rich and powerful royal family of Chedis. And another point I would like to share with all of you is that Parashara Muni mentioned when Ravana was killed by Lord Ramachandra, although he's sometimes thinking of Lord Ramachandra, but still there's one important ingredient of liberation. That means intense attraction. He doesn't have that ingredient. That's why he's not liberated. And when he was killed, when the Lord hurled his effulgent darshan chakra, cut off his, killing him. Oh, that is for Shishupal. When the Lord finally is killing Shishupal, and Shishupal got this liberation, because Shishupal, in his whole life, even before he can speak properly, he's chanting Lord's holy names. He has this special ingredient of liberation, means this intense attraction to the Lord's. And the Lord's holy name is constantly flowing in his heart and constantly flowing from his mouth. He's completely absorbed in the Lord. So his cognizance, his knowledge of the Lord is complete. Yes, this is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And that's why he got liberation. He got liberated. So the whole structure, we can understand how important it is of the knowledge. Without knowledge, we cannot understand about the Lord's position. And without the knowledge of the Lord, we cannot get the most secret part of the knowledge. Srila Prabhupada mentions in the purport of 9.2 of Bhagavad Gita, he said, the activities of the soul performed in the spiritual world constitutes the most confidential part of the spiritual knowledge. And now we are talking about dharmasya, paramo, guhyo. So the most confidential part of the religious principle. What is that religious principle? Religious principle is established by the Lord Himself. In the 6th canto, it is mentioned, dharma tu, sakshat, directly, bhagavat pranitam. The real religious principles, they're enacted directly, sakshat, directly by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And who knows? Not all the demigods know, not even the sages know. So Lord Yamaraj is instructing his agents, the Yamadutas. He said, Swayambhu Narada Shambhu Kumara Kapilo Mano Pralado Janako Bhishmo Balir Vayasakir Vayam. Balir Vayasakir Vayam. That means only 12 of us as Mahajans, we know the real religious principles. And in the very next shloka, it is mentioned, Etavan eva lokesmin, pumsam dharma parasmritaha, bhakti yogo bhagavati tan nama grahanadibi, devotional service beginning from the chanting of the holy names of the Lord is the ultimate religious principle for all the living entities in human society. And we also know that Srila Prabhupada always mentions savai pumsam paro dharmo yato bhaktir adokshade ahaituki apradihata yayatma suprasidati. That highest dharma must make you to understand you have to perform devotional service to the Lord, and that must be incessantly, non-stop, and without any ulterior motivations. And what is the result of this secret, the most secret part of religious principle? The result of this most secret part of religious principle is you go back to Godhead. You become the Lord's personal associate, and you see Him face to face, and you can enact eternal pastimes with Him. So here at the end of the purport, Srila Prabhupada also mentioned that 3 things are eternal. The Lord is eternal, and His servants are eternal, and the abode is also eternal. So in the Gopal Tapani Upanishad, it is also mentioned everything about this eternal. There's one very interesting incident that even in Vraja, the Lord sometimes with his gopas, the cowherd boyfriends, they're enacting the pastimes of even his other incarnations. For example, the churning of the milk ocean. And there are so many cows in Vraja. So Krishna he calls like trillions and trillions of cows, and he gathered all their milk and make a big ocean of milk. And he asked the cowherd boys, they play different parts as demigods and as the demons, and they churning the milk ocean. And sometimes he would play some other pastimes of other incarnations, maybe like Mahavishnu or Narayana. One time, Lord Surya Narayana, the demigods of the sun, came to pay obeisances to the Lord. And the sun is coming not as one person, it's coming as 12 persons, because there are 12 months in the year. So the sun is coming to obeisances to Lord Krishna in Vrindavan in all his representatives of the 12th month. And Lord Krishna, although he is Radha Samasundar form, but he manifested 12 hands. And he placed each hand on one of the head of the sun god. So he's enacting so many kinds of beautiful pastimes. So Hare Krishna, I would stop here, and I would like to welcome any corrections, questions, and comments. Yes, Prabhuji. Especially, I would like to thank you for exalted devotees' presence.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Thank you very much for this nice expression. I want to ask the Shishupal, from the childhood, he criticized Lord Krishna. Even this Rajya Sabha, everyone accepts Lord Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But he is not accepting. How we can, and his devotional service is not favorable for Lord Krishna also. So how we can understand Shishupal is no, Lord Krishna is a Supreme Personality of Godhead?
The first part, can you say it clearly? I didn't catch your first sentence. You said when Shishupal, when he's small, he didn't talk about Krishna's names?
No, from childhood he criticized Lord Krishna. And the devotional service is also not favorable to Lord Krishna.
Hare Krishna. He's performing devotional services since his childhood because he's constantly criticizing Krishna. And he's criticizing Krishna. And he said Krishna is Garuda Vahan, Krishna is Pandarekaksha, and Krishna is Shranga, the wielder of the Shrangi, this bow. So he's mentioning all Krishna's holy names and chanting Krishna's holy names. This is a devotional service. So he's performing in this sense. And Krishna in his heart, because this is Krishna. And when he incarnates, he insinuates his special feature of liberation into the fallen conditioned souls. And he's enlightening him, and he's giving him this intensity of absorption. So that's why he got liberation.
Mother, you mentioned this, you say Shishupal, no, Krishna is a Lord. That's why I'm asking question. You just mentioned in the lecture,
Yes.
Shishupal is no, Krishna is a supreme Lord.
Yes.
But he never accepted Krishna as a supreme Lord.
Sri Parashara Muni mentioned in the Vishnu Purana, 4th part, that he knows Krishna is the Supreme Lord. And in his heart, he knows. Thank you. And Krishna's name is very powerful. I would like to share one incident. Actually, it's mentioned in His Holiness Jayapataka Maharaj's daily app message. As we know that Maharaj recently experienced a health crisis. And unknowingly, out of some kind of infection, he has high fever. And his blood pressure is very low. And all the devotees are praying so hard. And even in that condition, on the 28th of May, and in the last message of that day's, his daily app news, he mentioned that I have been doing like a lot of other services, and I had my lunch, I had my dinner at 11 a.m. And after having dinner at 11 a.m., he said, I start to reply all kinds of emails of DBC, and I have one secretary of correspondence. And he's reading and I'm replying, and this going on up to 12 a.m. And then he said, I start my daily sadhana of reading Srila Prabhupada's books. And he said, today I read the teachings of Lord Chaitanya from chapter 6 to 8. And specifically in this section, Lord Chaitanya is teaching Sanatana Goswami that in this age of Kali, no need to do all kinds of meditation, no need for all kinds of sacrifices, and no need even for temple worship. Only need one thing. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Simply by chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, Maharaj said, you can achieve the most perfect stage of self-realization. And in last year, 2024, December 5th, Maharaj gave one class in Mayapur, and he says, devotees, by their pure devotional service, they can realize Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We can realize Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead by our pure devotional service. We are not like the Chidiraj, not like Shishupal. Because actually in another sense, who is Shishupal? He's coming from the Vaikuntha. Inside his heart, deep inside his heart, he knows who is Krishna. And we have to understand that Srila Prabhupada, he tried so much to provide us this complete structure of knowledge. And if we understand, first we establish who is Krishna, Krishna's Supreme Personality of Godhead. Eti Changsa Kalapamsa. Krishna's tu Bhagavan Swayam. Indare Vyakulam Lokam Midayanti Yuge Yuge. Then we can become liberated and we are going towards him, and how much Srila Prabhupada is taking his effort. Not everyone can understand this. There's one interesting shloka in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 3, 25th verse. It is mentioned that even the great sages like Yajnavalkya and Jaimini, they are the writers and authors and commentators of the religious principle books, this kind of scriptures. Still, they don't understand. Their intelligence is dulled by the flowery language of the Vedas. They don't understand the ultimate goal is to worship Krishna. And then, very interesting, in the purport, Prabhupada mentioned, actually, recently we established a big temple of Krishna Balaram in Vrindavan. And Prabhupada said, actually for us, we perform kirtans enough. But if we only perform kirtan, there are so many smarta brahmanas, residents of Vrindavan, they won't take a series about this inauguration of our temple. That's why we invited a lot of brahmanas. They're doing expensive, elaborate yagyas, pujas. But we have to notice, recently in Vrindavan, the devotees from all over the world, they celebrated the 50th anniversary of the inauguration of Krishna Balaram Mandir. That means Srila Prabhupada wrote this purport, 6.3.25, just after, shortly after this inauguration. That means the April of 1975. And Srila Prabhupada, he left this planet in November of 1977. So in just 2.5 years of time, Srila Prabhupada, starting from the 3rd chapter of 6th canto, completed 6th canto, 7th canto, 8th canto, 9th canto, up to 10th canto, 13th chapter. How much effort he is doing for us. And then, although he cannot finish the 10th canto, he wrote a summary. And in the 23rd chapter of that summary of 10th canto, the chapter about delivering the Yagyapatnis, the wives of the Brahmanas who are performing sacrifices, Srila Prabhupada mentioned, he said, actually Krishna expands himself. Krishna expands himself as our life, as our house, as our home, as our wife, as our children, as our opulence, as our assets, as all our paraphernalia. And Krishna is so merciful, he expands himself in 3 levels, bodily, mental, and spiritual, just to attract us back to Godhead. And if we want to understand, if we want to realize the superiority of devotional service, Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur, he mentioned in Chaitanya Bhagavat, I think it's the 8th chapter of Antya Lila, he said, you just relish the ecstatic pastimes of Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan movement in Nilachal, then you can realize, you can understand the superiority of devotional service. Hare Krishna. Any other questions? Comments? Agreed. Okay, so we think about how Krishna loves us. I would like to share another very small detail coming from the 10th canto, chapter 14, shloka number 7. In the purport, it quotes from Sanatana Goswami. The shloka itself mentions, excuse me, that the big philosophers, the big scientists, they hardly can count how many molecules on the earth and how many pieces of snowflakes in the snow and how many particles in the sunshine. But then Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti, when he commented this shloka, he said, actually there's one person who can count everything. That is Sankarshan. He can count everything. But even he can count everything, but he cannot count how many qualities of Krishna has. And Sanatana Goswami said, why the Lord is manifesting unlimited qualities? Because there are unlimited conditioned souls, there are unlimited fallen souls like us. And in order to attract each and every one of us, the Lord is manifesting unlimited qualities, just in case one of us got attracted and then we want to go back to Godhead. Hare Krishna.